And Natalie, welcome, welcome, welcome. Really looking forward to this talk. Natalie, fire away.
Hey everyone, glad to see you all here. Actually, you probably may, I don't know if you know my name, it's Natalie Luneva, so last name is Luneva, probably rings the bell because my husband is part of Ryan's group, and we had a lot of fun hosting virtual events, and that's why I'm here sharing with all of you. If you are thinking, probably if you are on the call, then you are probably thinking to host your own summit, online summit, and so I'm here to bust any myths or like ask you questions and just provide like a information about what we were doing, how I went about thinking this, how my trial and errors. I started hosting online summits last year, so I'm here to share everything that I have. If you have any questions, keep them until the end. If you have like questions about a little bit about your company, keep that until the end. If you have something immediate that you think is going to be applicable, maybe I am not clear explaining something, please feel free to interrupt. I would love to answer those questions. Alrighty, so hopefully you're here because you're interested in virtual summits. With everything happening in the world, the timing couldn't be right, better. So never have we seen the amount of interest and demand in virtual events than we've ever seen before. And many people who were forced to pivot from in-person to virtual events actually seen much better results. So that's why I think like now is the best time to do that, period. I am gonna share a couple of things about just myself. In addition to growing our own SaaS company with my husband, Dennis Luneva, I'm also involved in a few other products, and I'm also a consultant in other SaaS companies. I'm consulting them on growth and marketing. I have 10 years of digital marketing experience, and I am on a mission to help SaaS companies scale, clarify business priority, and grow high-performance teams. I've been doing this for over 10 years, and I've worked with over 100 companies. And basically, what I'm doing is I help identify and implement high ROI opportunities. So the idea of hosting online summits is actually came to me when I was trying to work on Deposit Fix and helping Dennis grow his business. This was one of the realizations where I was trying to identify high ROI growth opportunities for Deposit Fix. And it turned out, partnerships is something that a lot of companies talk about. And we heard like all the companies like HubSpot or ConvertKit or DataBox who grow really fast, really rapidly with partnerships. And so I thought, okay, let me see what we can do with partnerships specifically. I started reaching out to a few companies. No one would respond to me. I'm like, what the heck? Are my emails not good enough? Or like, what's happening there? And so I then decided, okay, instead of me basically coming there and, ultimately it's like asking something of them, I thought, let me come and just offer something to them. And so the idea of hosting online summits actually was born out of the challenge that I was trying to grow the company with partnerships, and I didn't have any luck. And so sure enough, when I had this idea of hosting online summits, I started reaching out to those same people who did not even respond to me. Now all of a sudden they not just respond, but now they say, hey, by the way, yes, I'm interested, and by the way, here's my friend John, he's also in the same space, he would be great to be a speaker at your summit. So woo, not only those people start responding to my emails, but now they refer their friends who are basically, I'm not doing any extra work, right? I'm not spending my time researching those people, but now I have those extra connections that I can reach out and partner up with. So I thought, okay, there's something there. Let's explore it a little bit more. So if you have any questions, you can also type them in the chat, and I'll see that as well here. So the benefits of hosting online summits. I know that one of the biggest questions I get is, okay, I have a list. Is hosting a summit going to help me? Or I don't have a list and I'm just starting out. Like by list, I mean like list of your customers, list of leads, email list, audience, community, whatever. And the answer is yes to both. If you have a list, if you don't have a list, hosting online summits is actually one of the smartest way to market a SaaS company right now. Even if you haven't done a virtual summit before, I'm sure that you were kind of a little bit maybe even scared because that's how I felt. You're probably worried about not having enough time or money to actually pull it off. But just in a few minutes, I'm going to flip that, and hopefully you'll ease your worry about that if this is something that you'd like to do. And I would encourage you, instead of thinking about all the problems or challenges that can arise, actually think about all the opportunities and results that you're gonna achieve from hosting your online summit. And hopefully that's gonna give you some power and lit the fire under your butt. I'll give you all the information that I have, everything that I know, all of my kind of secrets and tricks, and all the problems that I went through when hosting online events. If you have any particular questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll be happy to answer those. But the four main benefits of hosting online summits are: number one is because you're going to get some partnerships. You're going to build your network of influencers. Number two is authority, increasing the connections with industry leaders while increasing your authority as well is absolutely huge. So because companies who organize, be it conferences or online summits, because we cannot do conferences right now, right? They are seen as authority. And so this is something that you can very quickly these days just raise the ranks. Then grow your email list, obviously, because all of those attendees are, if you position your event right, are going to be your ideal audience. I've seen this done wrong, and actually, like, all the people that were attracted are not ideal audience. So hopefully you're not going to make these mistakes. And if you have questions, I would love to help you identify which topic would be ideal to attract your ideal customers. And one, like, there are probably dozens of benefits, but like the fourth biggest one is you're going to get a year's worth of content, because all of those sessions that people do, like keynote sessions, you record them, and then you can turn it into blog posts, into social media posts, into all of those YouTube videos that you can then just release one by one, on a weekly basis. So you're getting a year's worth of content. Alrighty, let me actually share with you my screen. Alrighty, here are a couple of summits that I've done recently, and I'd like to talk to you about the results that I achieved with those summits. Just again to put things into perspective. The latest one that I've done is for a company called User.com, and that's the summit was called SaaS Growth Summit. I hosted it a couple of weeks ago. We actually had 2,500 people register for the summit. We had 300 plus people live at any time, which is absolutely awesome. I was planning it to be a one-day event. It turned into a 2 days event just because there were so many awesome speakers that I couldn't just pass on. Because again, all of those speakers think about this as potential partners and not just speakers for your summit. I had speakers like Rand Fishkin, Nathan Latka, April Danforth, actually for free. We didn't pay anything to them. The event was free. I didn't pay anything to those speakers. So if you have a question, how can I get Rand Fishkin to be a speaker at my summit? Let me know. I'll let you know how. So then another one was for a company called DepositFix, my husband's company. And that one was also very, very successful because for that company, we had a few partners who we started relationships. It wasn't going, really nicely, and like sometimes they would not respond to our emails. And so all of a sudden, when they agreed to be as speakers, they now started to, like, the next day after they agreed to be speakers, at least two of them said, I have a company that I'd like to refer to you. And so they referred to us, two clients, right after they agreed to be a speaker, which I didn't expect. I mean, great that it happened, but that's not what I was asking for, right? And so now they think that kind of they owe me a little bit. And so I guess that's why they decided to do all of those things. The other Wiremo Summit, this was for an e-commerce SaaS. And by the way, Aaron is actually also a member of this group. He's also in e-commerce. I'm going to organize a summit for him as well in a few months. It's not going to happen in the next couple of months, but it just shows that there is definitely interest there. For Wiremo, the e-commerce summit, we actually had like hundreds of people registering. I didn't expect, but we got two sponsors that covered the entire cost of organizing the summit, which again, I didn't expect that at all. Like, I didn't go after those companies. I tried to get them as speakers, but now they will ask, hey, do you have sponsorship packages? Well, at the time I didn't tell them that. I said, yes, of course. And then within 1 hour, I basically put together the packages and sent it out to them. And 2 of them agreed, which is absolutely awesome. So bottom line, lots of benefits, lots of successes there. Let's see, and one more time, hosting online summits is one of the smartest growth strategies on the market today. So let's talk about hosting and organizing your own one-day summit virtual event, and see, I'll just share with you what you need to work on and kind of your thought process, and hopefully that's going to help you put things into perspective. So a few things what you need to decide on. Number one is, and by the way, I'm trying to do 90 days in advance. So you need to have at least 90 days for planning, organizing, reaching out to speakers and everything. So the very first summit that I hosted was around 60 days. It was a little bit too short, but we were short on time because the summit was for e-commerce, and we were like right around Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So I only had 60 days. Now it's at least 90 days. So a few things that you need to decide on when you're thinking about organizing an online summit is, number one is, what topic would you like to make it around? So again, with Aaron, for example, my initial suggestion was, if your SaaS is around e-commerce, let's think how we can, position it leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So we would host the summit maybe around like September. So at least it gives people at least 2 months to digest what they heard and work on and buy any SaaS company, subscriptions or whatever they need for the upcoming Black Friday, Cyber Monday promotions. So put things in place. So this is just one idea. Think about those, dates that you think are important for your particular clients, and what topic can be around that. Next is date, like I said, at least 90 days, but also think about all the if you're in the US, for example, like spring breaks, winter breaks, and all of those, holidays, so that people are able to attend your summit. Otherwise, if it's like, leading up to spring break, then a lot of parents, for example, probably not going to be able to attend. Next, whether it's going to be live or pre-recorded. All of my summits I do live. I never pre-record. I know a bunch of people who do, like, for example, Product-Led Summit, who was Bush hosted beginning of February, I think, as well. He pre-recorded all of the sessions, because my intent is always to partner up with those speakers. I never pre-record them just because I want this connection. And so live is the way to go for me. It's also increasing interaction with the people. So my latest summit, we had so many people just commenting and asking the questions that the speakers were like, whoa, that is a super group. In fact, Nathan Latka himself, he did not expect that. He said, I probably would expect 100 people, but there were 300 people just commenting and chatting with him like crazy. Obviously, speakers love that. Next, whether it's going to be a free or a paid event, all of my events, again, free, because I'm not trying to make money out of it. You can think about, getting some ticket sales as well. You can also create a free event. Plus, if they want to get replays of the sessions, maybe like $30, $50 for replays, or you can sell notes after the summit as well, maybe like for extra $50. But I'm doing this free event. Plus, if I get any sponsorships, then that's great. Otherwise, we don't plan for sponsorships. Like the company that I organize the summits for, they usually know that it's their cost. Next is type of sessions. Do you want it to be all keynote sessions, 30 minutes, 60 minutes? From my experience, 60 minutes is way too long. I never did 60-minute sessions. All of them are 30 seconds. And all the attendees said that having 30 minutes, and by the way, this is what speakers said, like usually I do 60 minutes, but I am forced to put as much information as possible, as like drill it down into 30 minutes, which makes it so much more powerful. I also would do like Q&A sessions with some of the top speakers, like Ran Fishkin. I had a Q&A session. I'll tell you later why. Next up, what you need to decide is you are going to need help from a team. So I need to have at least 2 people when I organize the summit. Number one is someone who is going to be there the day of the event to help solve any problems. And number two is like leading up to this summit, I would need some probably technical help, improving some website things and like, whatever needs to happen. So I would need to have a connection with the person in the company. So I would say having at least 2 people plus the host and or someone who has organized the summit is your minimum. And then the final one is technology. The first couple of summits I was hosting on Hey Summit specifically. And then Hey Summit, you actually connect Zoom to Hey Summit. And so all of my sessions were through Zoom. The latest one was a little bit more upscale, I want to say, because in the sense that it felt a little bit more like conference, because all the sessions, so people needed to, like, when they go to the session and then the session ends, they need to go back to like the hall, and then they need to click again into the new session, which I thought a lot of people are actually going to fall off. And I was so surprised, but people was there. I'm just entering the room and like 80 people are already there, which is absolutely amazing. So that's it on the first things that you need to decide. Next up is, what are the steps that you need to do to create a high impact virtual summit? And that's number one is always the end goal. I know that so many people think like they start in the wrong place. And I think when you start with what are you trying to achieve from the summit, for me, it's always partnership relationships. Next up is speakers lineup. We'll talk about that. I'll share with you my secrets. Next is how are you going to market and attract those attendees. Launch and then post-event is also very, very important, because again, we're not organizing the event just to run it and forget about this. There are some things that need to happen after the event as well. So beginning with the end goal in mind, what are you trying to accomplish? Do you want to build your email list, which is a great thing, by the way. Build email list, awareness, authority. This is absolutely awesome to do that. Build partnerships. That's always number one for me. And then just brand recognition. So think about your end goal. Are you trying maybe to even, make some money, which is totally fine. Then, at the first event, I would do it free. And then if you feel comfortable, then you can charge for the event as well. Oh, another way to charge for the event is if you have someone who can run, like I say, a workshop, a half-a-day workshop, then you can run this half-a-day workshop the day before the actual summit, and you can get people to kind of upgrade for the workshop, even though the event is free. Next, lineup of speakers. This is the second step, if you remember, in like 5-step process. So the speakers are probably one of the most important things that you need to decide. Companies that I work with usually think about this like, oh, I want Ryan Deiss to be a speaker at my summit. But like, really, why? What's the purpose? Just so that you can say that Ryan Deiss was speaker at my event? Like, the goal always needs to be that you, either attract those people will allow you to attract ideal customers for you. And if Ryan Deiss were to be a speaker at your summit, who would you attract? Marketers and marketing agencies, or like just general marketers in all kinds of industries. Is that really who you want to attract? Probably not. So think about who would be the type A speaker. And those are the level of Ryan Deiss or Nathan Latka or Brent Fishkin, for example. But don't start reaching out to them yet, okay? So you just think about it. And we only want to have 1 or 2 of those type A speakers. Those are the people who will, once people land on your landing page for the summit, they probably going to increase the chance of them signing up because, hey, there's Brent Fishkin going to be a speaker. Okay, that makes it a little bit more, proof, I guess. There's some proof, right? If Brent Fishkin is a speaker, there is a proof that this summit is not going to be just a piece of shit. But all of those people who you'd like to partner up with, create a list of it. Let's say you have 100 names, which is awesome. And then next line is going to be type A, type B, type C speaker. Type C speakers they usually don't have a large of an audience, but they are the ones who are going to prepare like hell for your summit. And those sessions are probably going to be interesting as well. Type B speakers, they're a little bit more advanced. They have an existing audience. They're a little bit bigger than you, maybe a lot bigger than you, but they're not, just high in the sky. They're like someone who is like a celebrity or someone. And then type A speakers are the celebrity types. So from type B and C speakers, you can actually expect that they will promote your summit to their audience. And this is the biggest reason why you want to think very carefully who you want to invite to be speakers at your summit. Is you want them to promote your summit to their audiences. From my experience, this is going to be around between 30 to 50% of all of your attendees going to come from those speakers' audiences. And this is another benefit of hosting the summits, where yes, you need to bring the audience, you need to promote it, but then all of those speakers actually do the job, basically, right, for you to bring this audience to you. And type A speakers, the process for you to reach out to the speakers, you actually start with a couple of type C speakers. Once you get at least 2 of those type C, now you can reach out to a couple of type B. Don't reach out to all of them, by the way, simultaneously. That's a big mistake. Now let's say you can get at least a couple of type B speakers. Now, when you also, by the way, you also need to have a website ready by that time so that people at least can look at your website that it's actually legit. And now you are ready to reach out to type A speakers. When you reach out to someone like Rand Fishkin, for example, in your industry, obviously, you do not ask them to be a speaker and present like a keynote, because I'm not able to offer like, speaking fee for them, right? This is a free event, so I want to make it as easy as possible for them. So I tell them, would you be interested to do a quick Q&A session? So they don't need to prepare for that. They just need to be there, and that's it. And they get the benefit of exposure from hundreds, if not thousands, of people who are registered for the summit. This is how I got Rand Fishkin for free. I asked, would you be interested to do a 15 to 30 minute Q&A session? You don't need to prep. It is a high level event. We have such and such speakers. Would you be interested? And he said yes. And after that, let's say at this point, you only have 7 speakers who agreed. Let's say one of the type A speakers agreed as well. Now it is so much easier for you to attract more of those type A speakers and many more of those type B speakers. Now you're kind of not that you're a friend of a celebrity, now you're kind of a mini celebrity yourself. And it's so much easier for you to reach out to additional people and start building up those relationships. This is the power of hosted online summits, not just so that you can host it and forget about it, but build those relationships. So summit is an excuse for me to build the relationships. Alrighty, I spent a little bit too much time on this, but hey, I think this is just so important. Again, criteria to choosing the speakers is number 1, they have an existing list. Number 2, they have agreed to promote the summit. If they did not agree, then I think twice whether I want them to have as a speaker, because every speaker needs to do some kind of a job in the summit, I mean, for me, right? So if they're not willing to promote the event, if I have a dozen other speakers who are willing to promote the event, then I would just give priority to those people. Let's see, the speaker acceptance rate is around 50%. In the beginning, when you're just getting your first couple of speakers, it's going to be probably less, but you'll be surprised how many people are actually going to say yes to being a speaker at your summit. Now, marketing the summit is actually getting the attendees. There are a few ways how we can get the attendees. Number 1, if you have an existing list. Unfortunately, I was so surprised that the companies that have, let's say, 3,000, 5,000 email list, only maybe like 1% is actually gonna end up registering for the summit. I expected it to be much more, actually even less than 1%. 0.5%, I think, of one of the companies did. And I was so surprised. So, if you host a summit, don't expect that your existing list, like 50% of them are going to show up. That's not going to happen. Social media is always a big. Communities, all of those Facebook groups where your ideal customer hang out, that's the greatest way to reach out, and just reach out to the community admin and ask, number 1, would they be okay if you share it there? If they don't, then maybe you need to pay a little bit, or, sweeten the deal somehow for them. Next, partnerships. All of those speakers, sponsors, affiliates, whoever, those are the people who you're going to get the most probably of your attendees. And event sites like Meetup and Eventbrite, I always post the events there as well. Podcast interviews leading up to the summit is always big. So if you're hosting a summit, let's say in 4 months, make sure that you're host and participate in podcast at least 45 days prior to that, so that they have a chance to actually release it, and then those people can have a chance to actually go to your website and attend the summit. Alrighty, Next up is opt-in rate. Keep in mind that not everyone is actually going to be that land on your website, on the website of the summit event, not going to register. So websites like Hey Summit, platforms like Hey Summit that I used to organize the summit, actually allow you to insert the Facebook pixel. So if you're able to do that for sure, because then you are able to retarget those people. Alrighty, now we are almost ready to launch now our summit. During the summit, the day of the summit. So number one is you want to have at least 5 minutes before the event to do, like even before, let's say this, leading up to the summit, let's say 7 days before the summit, you are able to invite those speakers to maybe do a Q&A session leading up to the summit. So the 7 days before the summit, you can ask them, would you be interested to do like a Facebook Live or Q&A session? And then you have so much more content as well to promote the summit, right? You can also create a private group. This is what I've done with every single one of the summits that I've organized. For the latest summit for user.com, the one for SaaS companies, they did not have a Facebook group. After the summit, during the summit, I actually encouraged everyone to join this very new group. They had 0 people in the group. And all of a sudden, right the next day after the summit, they had 200 people out of nowhere. Now you have, it is so much more difficult for you to start a group from 0 to first 50 than to grow it from 200 to 500, right? So that's why just summit can achieve so much more for you. So let's say we're ready to launch the summit. The day of the summit, 5 minutes, you're going to do a quick intro of the summit, who you are. And then, those sessions are going to be one by one. You're going to make them live. Creating the private group is important. Live streaming to that Facebook group is important as well. In the chats, try to be as engaging as possible. I recently did a similar workshop for another group, and they asked me if I'm not really like a public person and I would probably be very shy, would you say that I'm still gonna be a good fit to be a host for the summit? And I said, probably no. The summit that I hosted, like those people expect, and attendees, the latest summit, and this comes with practice as well. So the very first summit, I was probably more boring than I was at the last summit. The last summit was a killer because I guess I had much more energy. I was much more kind of, there was a free-flowing conversation, and I knew all those speakers so well. So I guess it's just friend talking to friend and given like a ton of value to everyone else. And so people were just commenting like crazy, and speakers obviously appreciate it a lot. So that's why you want to be as engaging as possible. And then for every summit that I did, at the end of the summit day, I actually did a networking session for all the attendees. And this is killer. You absolutely have to do that. I highly recommend, because this is where you get all the feedback from your summit. This is where you build relationships. Well, this is where you hear from, oh, I had this problem. I wasn't able to log in or something like this. But this is a chance for everyone to join and just chat, especially during these times where everyone is just starving for communication with everyone else, right? So having those networking sessions at the end of every day for 30 minutes is very, very valuable. So here, I'm going to pause a little bit and ask you a question. Do you have an existing event that you'd like to launch? Or like, did you think about the topic already? Like, is there something that you already had in place that you'd like to organize for your summit? Let me see. I'm not able to see anything here just yet. If you do, drop it in the chat. I'd love to hear that. While you're doing that, I'm going to move on and talk about the latest thing, and that is post-summit activities. So when you're done with the summit, there are many more things that you need to do. Number one is everyone's always asking for replays. So make sure that you record that and you add it. For Hey Summit, you need to do it manually. The second summit that I hosted, I used AirMeet, and AirMeet is doing this automatically, which was awesome. So that's up to you. Networking for all speakers. This is a session that I host maybe a couple of days after the summit, where I invite all the speakers. Remember, the main goal is to partner up, not just for me, but also if those people can partner up among themselves, they now remember that I was the one who introduced them to each other. Now it's kind of it's awesome. Next up, scheduling a solo call to explore partnership relationships with each of those speakers. If you're able to turn all of those sessions into a blog posts, that is awesome. This is what I'm doing for all my summits, free content that you don't need to pay hundreds of dollars to post, to create a blog post to a writer, right? Next up is video clips for each speaker. And that's going to go a long way if you are creating a short clip, if it's possible at all. Like if you have someone who can do this, but just a short clip, like maybe 30 minutes of very crucial something, like piece of information that speakers shared during the summit with everyone else. And then you can share it with the speaker, maybe even insert a small logo for your event there. They would definitely appreciate that. And then follow up with all the attendees. Where you definitely want to include information a little bit more about your company. And by the way, if you have someone on your in your company who can be one of the speakers, that is great. So for all the summits that I organized, obviously, I organize it for someone else. And so the CEOs or like the owner of the company is always one of the speakers to be there just to welcome everyone, but also do a quick intro of their company and, the benefit that they provide. So if you're able to do that, awesome. If not, then just be sure to have a very nice follow-up sequence ready ahead of time, not trying to scramble something together the day of when you need to send out the, thank you email after the summit. So that's very nice to have it ready so that you don't kind of get stressed out. And that's pretty much it. Those are the 5 steps. I tried to go as fast as possible so that we have more time for your questions. But if you have any questions, go to natalieluneva.com/summits, and I would love to, schedule if you have questions about specifically scheduling any particular questions. I can answer them in a session for 30 minutes.
Fantastic, Natalie. That was awesome. There was so much stuff in there. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the chat. There's a bunch of questions in there, so we might.
Oh, wow, I love it. Sounds good.
We might go through them now.